She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. Thank you so much for joining us today. You have probably noticed that there's been quite a fallout since the last election. Now, if you're somewhere around my age, you've probably watched lots of elections. And we see people that protest and people who fight and people who say things maybe that they should have never said. But these last two elections, I've noticed something, and I think part of it is because of social media. Social media has brought our election cycles and has brought forth opinions of people that we have never had the chance to hear before, never had the chance to see before. In fact, I believe that social media has kind of been a platform for the everyday average American, just like you and me, to have the opportunity to say something, to actually perhaps be heard or at least seen, be engaged and in that conversation, sharing how we feel about it. But have we gone too far? Is it possible that with the freedom of social media, that we are using our influence in a way that is not helpful and conducive to our country or to our fellow man and even to ourselves? And is what we are saying in those places so freely, with no filter, without thinking before we speak, but just speaking through our fingertips, reacting and overreacting to the content in which we're hearing, whether you're for the blue team or you're the red team, that's really not the issue. But how we are reacting and responding is the issue. So we asked a question on Facebook about this fallout from the election. People are being blocked on Facebook. People are being avoided at work. People are angry with each other. And this fallout is having an effect on us as a people. It seems to be almost like a festering wound that's just oozing all kinds of redness and itchiness and pus. It almost seems like there's a giant wound from the last election and this election. And it seems like there's a great healing that has to happen. So we asked this question, have you experienced some of this fallout? Have people been blocking you? Have you blocked some people? Have you been avoided? Have you avoided some people? I think it's important that we talk about it. Let's just see, have we gone too far? Now, I know that this show is about your success and defining success for you. And the reason why we're talking about this today is because of this. Are you going to go the way of the masses? Or are you going to rise up, step up, and go in the opposite direction? Are you going to be one that is using your influence to help our nation or to hurt it? Are you going to be one that's going to help to understand different people's perspectives and points of view? Or are you only going to shove your perspective and your point of view down everybody else's throat, not even realizing that you're going to be seen as a bigot if you use that approach? So we're going over to the phones. I'm really excited about this conversation because here's why. You're being watched. People are hearing what you're saying. And you need to see it from other people's points of view and their perspective before you so quickly with your fingertips engage in an all-out assault against someone because you assume you know what they're thinking. First, we've got Tamara McKay from Ontario, Canada. So here's a looker on from afar. Like, it isn't even your presidential election. And yet.
Yep, and it still causes chaos.
Yeah. So from your perspective, do you think that we've gone too far? Do you think that social media has had a place in it?
Absolutely, because some things people are saying, they would never say to your face.
Yeah.
I had one of my cousins tell me to F off and die because of an opinion about the election. And, she would never say that to my face, but on social media she would.
Wow. Whoa. Wait a second. Was this a Canadian cousin or American cousin?
It was a Canadian cousin.
What?
Yes.
So it's not even your guys' election.
Yeah, but they wanted the power to go the other way because it would work better with how our prime minister is trying to run things here. So they wanted it to go a different way, and because it didn't, now we're seeing all sorts of companies go, oh, well, this is the way the States is going. We're going to move there. And so, yeah, we're having a big backlash over here.
Wow. And
people who agreed with, the ideology of the current president there, we're getting a lot said to us.
Wow. So your cousin tells you to F off and die.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you saw that?
I was pretty mad, and I just was like, you want to know something? You're no longer required in my life, and I just got her off my social media. I don't need that kind of conversation. I can have intelligent, factual-based conversations with people who absolutely disagree with me, but not that kind of conversation.
Wow. Now, is this a cousin that in the past has treated you that way?
Not so much. I do have a lot of family that treats me that way, but because I'm definitely not the politically correct family member. Yeah, no, she hasn't been that way in the past.
Wow.
But there's things that we've disagreed on in the past, and you could see she'd get upset. But like I said, it's something she would never say to my face, but on social media where there's that, disconnect, she felt more than okay with saying it.
So when somebody says that, I mean, they're saying that I just want you to believe the way I believe. They're not saying I want to have a conversation. That's not a conversation. When somebody says something like F off and die to your cousin, it is simply a judgment. It's an assumption that they understand the fullness of your opinion and why you have that opinion. It's just the cutting off of the conversation altogether.
And it's not fun. It's not fun to be the person in that situation.
No, it's not. Okay, so I have a question for you. Have you said the same thing to somebody else?
Have I said that? No.
Something like that to someone else?
When I was younger, before I was a parent, I probably have. But when I really got thinking of it as a parent, I was like, my kids are paying attention. And I want them to be able to argue with me in a constructive way, like a debate, instead of a my way is better than your way, and it doesn't matter what your point is.
Yep. That's really wise, Tamara.
Trying to be really careful.
Yep. Because if you do not allow a debate, a healthy debate to happen between you and your children, then your children are being shut down and shut off. And that eventually will turn into rebellion, big time rebellion, and even hatred and anger and frustration in that child. They need to have the opportunity to give their point of view, their perspective, and their opinion, albeit it is a 3-year-old opinion, or it's a 5-year-old opinion, it's a 17-year-old opinion. It is still an opinion, and everyone has a right to their own opinion and to be honored for that opinion. And so I'm really proud of you that you've matured in that way as a parent. Becoming a parent, in my opinion, that has caused me to want to be a better person more than anything else in life. Prior to having kids, it really didn't matter. I was on my own self-destructive path. But when you become a parent, like if there's something in us that doesn't make us go, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that, or oh, I probably shouldn't do that. Oh, I shouldn't. You know what I mean? If there's not accountability that comes into play when we become a parent, we're not really a parent. We missed the boat on the promotion of becoming a parent altogether. Wow, Tamara, I'm so sorry that this happened to you with your cousin. And I have a question for you. What are you doing with that relationship now? She's your blood relative. She's your cousin. What are you doing now? Because obviously this happened, whatever it happened, but what is your strategy moving forward?
Well, we don't see each other that often. She's
so you're basically okay with the fact that you don't talk to her?
Yeah, I don't talk to a lot of my family. I see them when I kind of have to, and we smile, we nod, we get along, and
no, you don't.
Then I leave.
That's not getting along. That's not getting along at all. Who are you trying to kid, girl? That's not getting along. That is tolerating each other.
Okay, well, we tolerate each other, and then I leave, and they talk bad about me.
Okay, so what is your strategy? What is your strategy? Because guess what? One of these days, you're going to get a hold of one of your kids, and you're going to talk bad to your kids.
they do.
Okay. So what is your strategy?
I don't have one. If I ignore them, then they don't really have a place.
That's not true. You're saying that if you ignore them, they don't have a place in your life? Really? You called in on this show in the United States of America because it bothered you. What do you mean they don't have a place?
Well, they only have as much of a place as I let them have.
Let's just go here again. You called into a show in the United States of America to share this experience. They obviously still have a big place in your heart, and it is still a hurt and an offense inside of you.
Yeah, I would love to have a family that, can appreciate me for being who I am.
So how can you do that?
I have no idea. I've never had one.
Would you like a strategy?
Sure.
Now, this is where you're going to have to weigh your ego with your goal of wanting to have a family where there can be some kind of harmony or understanding and respect one for another. Okay, so you're going to have to weigh your ego with the goal here. Because the strategy I'm going to give you means that ego has to go away. And that means that humility has to be present. You see, in order for the family to have a relationship that's respectful and honorable, right? That you are free to share your opinion, is they have to be free to share theirs. And there has to be understanding of perspective and honor when they share theirs. So with that logic in mind, number one is you need to forgive your cousin and all your family who gossips behind your back. Otherwise, you will isolate yourself away from the family. And that's not wise. It's not healthy. We don't get to pick our family, but we can pick how we treat them. Now, I've got tons of abusive family as well. I'm in your boat, girlfriend. I get it. I absolutely get it. And you know the gossip that spreads about me. My goodness. My own mother gossips behind my back. And my mother-in-law. It's amazing. And the things they fabricate while they use their drugs is amazing. Okay? So, it's hard to deal with that. But here's the bottom line. You got to forgive, number one. Number two, that's a personal phone call to your cousin and just say, I want to ask you to forgive me. I am so sorry. I have cut off all communication since our exchange on Facebook, and that was really immature of me. So I respect your opinion. In fact, I want to hear more about it. I would love to hear in your heart of hearts where you're coming from, because there's obviously something I don't understand and that I don't know. And I believe you can teach it to me right now. That's the first step in honoring somebody else's opinion. Otherwise, you're both doing the same thing. You don't agree with me? It's my way or the highway. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Coming up next, are your online habits slamming the brakes on your career? Dani will show you how you might just be hurting yourself. Stay right here for more of The Dani Johnson Show.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success. Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First steps to success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job domination. That's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
In your face and in your corner. You've never had a coach like this before. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Oh, Dani, who cares? Yes, I've blocked some friends. They deserve to be blocked. I don't agree with their post. You see what you look like right now? Do you see what you sound like? You are the one participating in division with your friends and your family members, perhaps their coworkers. And by the way, your next job interview, they're watching that. They see that. That determines whether or not they want to hire you, because they certainly don't want someone that's divisive coming into their company, right? Because if you're divisive with friends and family on Facebook, you certainly will be divisive internally. You actually are hurting your earning potential by being a blocker. Yes. Now listen, if someone's abusive, yes, they need to be blocked. If someone is using you, like for example on our Facebook page, we have people that are constantly trying to sell their goods on our Facebook page, they're going to be blocked. Why? Because they're not honoring our code of ethics. That this is not a place to sell something. This is a place to be an advocate for people, to produce messaging that is encouraging and inspiring and giving strategies and direction to people, not to sell your cosmetics, not to sell your weight loss program, your exercise program, or your essential oils or vitamins. This is not the place for you to promote even your pornography, which, believe it or not, people have tried to sell their pornography on our page, of all things. Oh my gosh. Or well, just forget it. There's different motives. So from a professional standpoint, yes, there's certain people that need to be blocked on a page. But from a personal standpoint, if you're blocking friends and family because they don't have your presidential preference or your policy preference or your political preference, it goes to show you a little bit about you and some things that might need to change. It goes to show you how much you're valuing relationship and human beings. Okay. Christina Tarpley from Arkansas. Beautiful state.
Hey.
Hi. So what has been your experience on Facebook during all of this election stuff?
Well, it's saddening to see all the hatred and stuff going on. But how I'm letting it affect me is, first thing I just ask myself is what's going to come out of my mouth or what I'm going to write, is it going to add to the world around me or is it going to take away?
Mm-hmm.
And, whoever is in office, I pray for them.
Yep.
Even if I disagree or I've been scared, with those feelings, I will take them before the Lord and I will say, Lord, help me with this. Give me your peace.
Yep.
And, he gives me peace when I do that.
Yep.
And, when I'm dealing with, if I disagree with somebody, I let them say their part.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell whether or not that person is going to be receptive to, what I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I always put before myself, okay, is what I'm going to say, is it going to provoke that person to anger? or not.
Yeah.
You know, and
I feel like the way you're approaching it is really wise. And you asking the question, is this going to help or is this going to hurt? Is this going to provoke someone to anger or is this going to be a blessing? I think that is so very wise. And so oftentimes people with their fingertips don't think before they speak through their fingers, but they have a tendency of trying to provoke or argue their own point of view. I can't imagine, and think about this, Christina, because I think you're on the path I think you're on this exact path of what I'm about to say. And that is the path of trying to learn somebody else's perspective versus always trying to give our own. You see, during the since we've been on Facebook, okay, there's been 2 elections and 2 very different elections with all kinds of controversy behind both of them. And the bottom line is that I purposely did not post nor talk about my position on purpose. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing to see how people judged their guess of what my position was. I never said what my position was. I simply asked questions about what other people's positions were and asked questions about different types of policies and to find out how people felt. And so what I found is that I want to learn about who is talking on Facebook, what their perception is. Share with me how you feel so I can understand better people's perceptions and points of view, because it will cause me to learn more about what's really going on in the world versus me just giving my point of view rather than me giving my opinion that wasn't asked for, right? Did anyone on Facebook ask me my opinion? Has anyone asked you your opinion on Facebook? Generally not. But we have a tendency of sharing it before we're even asked. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Stay right here for more of The Dani Johnson Show.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
So 4 years ago in July, we showed up to our first Dani Johnson event, our first Steps to Success. And we were completely desperate in every area of our life. At the time, I thought it was just because of our finances, but then I figured out pretty quickly that it was because of my lack of people skills that we were where we were. We sat in the front row. We got fast track, and we sat in the front row right in the center next to some amazing people because we were so hungry, so desperate, so broken, and I pretty much cried through the entire event, honestly. And when she did the War on Debt, which she will show you, this afternoon, I went back immediately and got it. She had just started talking. I heard a couple stories, and I was like, if they can do it, I know we can do it. So we went back and got it and listened to it on the way home in the car, because we drove from Michigan all the way to Missouri. So we listened to it in the car, and when we got home, we immediately got our papers out. We wrote down our plan, and we started applying it. And within 14 months, we paid off over $62,000 worth of debt. We never in a million years thought that was possible. There's so much that has happened in the last 4 years, and I'm the person that wants the results immediately. I don't like the process of getting there. I want to just get there. But I've learned to appreciate the process over the last 4 years and just seeing the transformation that has happened in us. Personally, we individually experience different things, and we experience a lot of things together. I was paying our bills. I was completely disrespectful to my husband and didn't really know how bad it actually was. And so that part of our life is still improving. I can say we're a work in progress. It takes time, and we have grown so much.
We showed up. My wife, I didn't know this at the time, but she was battling thoughts of suicide. I had no idea. I thought I was being perfectly good husband. I did my best to serve her, be a great guy. But what she needed was somebody who would step up and be a leader in our marriage. That's not who I was. And I was totally emasculated, physically emasculated by, there was someone in our church, the pastor, and so we felt the brokenness of a church, having to leave and just hurt, and devastated. One of the biggest breakthroughs started in our marriage is when Lucy started being a wife to me. And I, as a leader, I should step up, right? Take action first, be the initiator. She did it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a completely different person. And I can tell you, our marriage has just, it's amazing the difference between her feeling suicidal, me stepping down as a leader, to me taking the initiative and just looking her in the eyes and saying, honey, thank you for allowing me to be your leader. And she just melts every time. This is awesome. So. So let me just tell you this, guys. If you're struggling, or you're broke, you're wondering what your next step is, hey, just take action. Follow those notes that you just took. Take action and do it, because your story is going to be here, and people are going to be inspired by your story. So are you all ready to take notes? All right, let's do this. Help me welcome Miss Dani Johnson, America's favorite millionaire, to the stage.
This is the Dani Johnson Show.
People all over the world, actually, not just our country, are blaming who's in office. You know what? This isn't anything new. But the new thing is that we have social media where everyday average people are able to share their opinion, even before they're asked. And when we share our opinion before we're even asked, we have a tendency of caring more about what we think than we are caring about what other people think. We asked this question on Facebook about the fallout that's been happening in social media, all the great division that's been taking place. Joining me right now is Christina from Arizona. Christina was just sharing her approach and how she's using it. So Christina, based on what I just shared about giving our opinion even before we're asked, what do you think about that? Where did she go? I know she's here. There we are. Hi, Christina.
My opinion on before they.
Meaning, what I loved what you were saying was that, okay, so you've been concerned about the election, right? And so you bring that before God and he gives you peace. Mm-hmm. And that before you respond to somebody else's opinion, right? Then you find yourself going, am I going to provoke this person to anger, or am I going to help the situation? So then my next thing is what you are going to share, is that your opinion that someone didn't ask for?
Well, their opinion that I didn't ask for, I will go ahead and let them voice their opinion.
Right. But are you wanting to answer their opinion with your opinion?
No. I mean, I would test whether or not I know this person. Are they going to be open to what I have? If I disagree or agree with them?
And what is that? Is that your opinion? Whether you agree or disagree with them? It would be your opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me give you a strategy that you can use on Facebook that kind of even takes that away completely. That takes away the angst of, should I say this, should I not? I wonder how they'll receive it. If you want to build bridges instead of walls, and you don't want to have that angst and that worry, then it's a really simple thing. The question is, did they ask me for my opinion? The answer is no. So in that case, it is dig deeper and learn more about their opinion. Mm-hmm. It's only when we feel that we're heard from someone else. It's only when we are engaged in that safe place of feeling like I'm honored in having my opinion, do we even care about another person's opinion. Does that make sense? So rather than trying to answer their opinion with your opinion, you would actually expand your tent pegs, increase your influence by simply asking them to tell you more about their opinion and how they came to this place, trying to get more understanding. And it is right. Exactly. Because sometimes, have you ever found that sometimes we can assume based on a short little opinion that they gave, and it's not even the full picture, right?
Yeah.
It's not even coming from the perspective that we thought they were coming from.
Yeah.
So, how to expand your influence on Facebook is don't give your opinion, but get other people to give their opinion to you, and that creates that influence, that creates that safe place, that creates that trust for them then to eventually come and say, I wonder what she thinks about it. I wonder how she feels about it. To where, because you created this very trustworthy environment for someone to share and speak on what they needed to speak on, then it is that place where they want to hear yours. So it is so interesting how many people are flying around with their opinions on Facebook and no one asked them. There's some points. I mean, we ask for people's opinion on Facebook, and that's the right place to say, tell us what your thoughts are. Bam! Tell us what your thoughts are, man. Go for it. You know what I mean? But if the post isn't that, if somebody didn't ask that question, isn't it funny how we just volunteer our opinion and trying to force it down everyone's throat? And don't you understand where I'm coming from? No, they understand where you're coming from because they're all trying to share where they're coming from.
Yeah.
No one's listening to each other. They're just fighting.
Yeah, and you have two heads betting against each other.
Exactly. Whereas we actually created a safe place, right, where one actually went, tell me more about that. Let me hear more about that. You will find that you actually probably even agree with each other.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When you care about what other people are saying,
yes,
it creates that, okay, I can trust that person.
Yep.
They care about what I'm saying.
Exactly. They've honored me. They've respected me. They haven't fought against me. They haven't shoved their opinion down my throat. They heard me. That increases your influence in social media. That increases your influence with your family. That increases your influence in your workplace. It works. Awesome, Christina. Thanks so much for sharing. I really love that you shared that perspective because it really led into this great question of sharing your own opinion. Okay, so we've got Patty Tower from Seattle, Washington. Patty, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for having me here.
Yes. So what has been your response to all of this absolute chaos and division that are happening between even family members and coworkers on Facebook due to an election that, we don't really have much control over?
My response when it comes to social media is to observe and to take a look at my own self, because sometimes, or more often than not, I take into account my opinion versus God's opinion.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my, this is big.
So,
Lord have mercy. So let's pause right there. That's really good. Right? So let's see. Is God surprised about who was elected? This last election and the one before?
Absolutely not.
Not.
Absolutely not.
Is he worried about who was elected?
Absolutely not.
Is he afraid about who was elected?
Absolutely not.
Not. Oh, wow. This is so good. Wow. Wow. And what is his opinion concerning who is in office?
His opinion is not our opinion.
No. His opinion is that we are to honor and to pray for and to respect. That's his opinion.
Absolutely.
Yep. That's his opinion. Wow. Patty, that was powerful. That was dead on.
Yes. We need to stop and intercede and not to judge.
Yeah. But the reality is, I'll tell you something. This is really, really powerful. When everything was happening through the election, I had we were walking in actually into our 3-day training seminar called First Step Success. And I said, listen, this just happened. I mean, we walked in right before inauguration. And then, 3 months before, we were walking into our advanced training seminar. Like the election was done. 3 days later, we were in an event. Okay. The inauguration, the next day, we were in an event. And I warned our team and I just said, hey, listen, some people people are really hurting right now. They're really fearful. They're scared out of their mind. And then there's another people who are rejoicing. So you couldn't have two very opposite feelings in that room that we're going to be facing today. And what we got to do is for those who are sorrowful and scared, we need to be there to comfort with compassion. Those who are rejoicing, we need to rejoice with them, regardless if we agree with either one of their positioning. We are not here to change their position, but we are here to listen and to rejoice with those who are rejoicing and be compassionate with those who need compassion. That's the bottom line. And if we keep our opinion out of it, because we're here to serve, we're here to love, we're here to advocate for them, we're here for their success, we're in their corner, then our opinion doesn't belong in this equation. All that matters is that those that need the support, we're there for the support. Those that are needing to have someone feel their elation and their excitement and to feel their hope for a better future, then we need to ask them more about that and for them to share more about that, but not for us to tell, well, I think da-da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? And that's really powerful. And by the way, that would be of God's opinion as well, right? To love your neighbor as yourself and to carry one's burdens, to carry each other's burdens. That is also God's opinion. In fact, the whole Bible is his opinion. Man, Patty, you said a mouthful, and I don't even know if you realize the size of the mouthful. The size of the mouthful is 1,217 pages in my Bible because that truly is his opinion. It is profound.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. And our goal is to create unity and not divide. And some of the stuff that is going on social media is causing divide, but more than that, it's causing distraction. And I think that's what the enemy wants.
Total distraction, complete distraction, which leads to frustration and a lack of clarity and no direction. That's what distraction brings. The fruit of distraction is frustration and complete lack of clarity. What is the word that I'd be using for that? What's a lack of clarity? There's one word. I think it starts with a D, but it's not distraction. It's okay. It'll come to me eventually. But bottom line is that distraction clearly brings frustration and a lack of direction. It brings a lack of direction, and which opens the door to confusion and indecision, which then creates more frustration, more fear, more procrastination. And I think you're right. It's all a giant distraction right now, and it is hurting families. But there's got to be a people that rises up, a remnant that rises up, that does the right thing. And Patty, that whole perspective of what is God's opinion here, is so good. All right, this is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Do you feel like your opinions never get heard? When we come back, Dani will show you how to create an environment where you will be heard. Next on The Dani Johnson Show.
You want to succeed, right? But you do not want to fail God at the same time. There is a way to succeed from a biblical perspective, and it's far greater than anything you could ever imagine. Over 500 scriptures I studied to study money, everything that the Bible said about money. That's in the first couple chapters of Spirit-Driven Success. Not to mention leadership, working with people, growing a career, being used mightily in the marketplace, which is where Abraham, God used him in the marketplace. And Joseph, God used him in the marketplace. Moses, God used him in the marketplace. Daniel, Solomon, really all of the greats of faith, most of the greats of faith throughout the Bible, they all were in the marketplace, and God wants to show you how you can be used mightily by him in the marketplace. Right here, Spirit-Driven Success is where all of my notes are on how you can do that. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Spirit-Driven Success today.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was working 60 to 75 hours a week. I was completely stressed out. I was incredibly angry with my husband. We were in over $350,000 worth of debt. By applying the strategies that Dani teaches, in the last 3.5 years, we have paid off $170,000 in debt. We are no longer roommates, and we no longer spend every single cent that we make. We now have made tens of thousands of dollars in passive income in investments. We are on the right track. We're traveling around the world together, and we are building homes for those who really need it. So I don't know about you, but if you want to cut back from 60 to 20 and 30 hours a week, if you want to mend some relationships, if you want to make your life more efficient and a lot more fun, and you want to be the best version of you, I highly recommend that you get registered because your life is about to change.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, first steps to success in creating dynasty, my wife and I were really lost. We were struggling in a relationship. We were struggling financially, drowning in debt. Our relationship was really broken. We were in a bad place. We were living in two completely different states and not really honoring each other. Once we got plugged into the community, we noticed a shift in our lives. Most importantly, we came together as a husband and wife. That was the first thing we did. And when we finally came together under the same roof, things started to change. Over the past 3 years, we've been able to pay off over $495,000 in debt. I know my business, I've had a job created for me that increased my income by 50%. That has actually opened up the door to allow my wife and I to spend more time with each other. So I don't know where you are. I don't know if your relationship is super awesome. I don't know if your job is immaculate. I don't know if you're debt-free. But what I do know is if you're not any one of those things, your next step is to get plugged into DaniJohnson.com, go on the website, get plugged into the community. I promise you, your life will never be the same.
And prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was a broke college student, drowning in debt, and I felt like the world was crashing all around me, and I had bad relationships. Since plugging into DaniJohnson.com and First Steps to Success, I was able to pay off $6,600 in 4 months. Now I'm able to give 10% of my income to wherever my heart desires. I actually, using the skills that I learned from Dani, I actually landed a job before I graduated college, and I'm able to travel the world. All I know is if you're serious about annihilating your debt, traveling in the world, helping people, and having fun doing so, I highly recommend you get registered for the next First Steps to Success. Do it now, don't wait, don't even thinking about it. If you're ready to change your life, just do it.
We went to our first ever First Steps to Success just 10 weeks ago, and it has definitely been life-changing ever since.
We felt like we got hit by a 2x4, but it was the best 2x4 because what we realized is that our priorities were clearly out of line. I had been building a home-based business and had been working 80 to 100 hours, and I realized that that is not my role, and that I had actually taken my husband's, and it was that realization that something had to change, and we immediately went home and changed everything. There was no hesitation. We said, you know what, we need to be obedient to God.
And we've implemented the tools day one. We started implementing what Dani taught us, invested in ourselves, invested in our kids, got our priorities in line. We've now actually paid off just not quite $60,000 in debt and looking at a couple more investments here as head of the household.
It's been absolutely incredible. So I just encourage you, if any of this speaks to you, if you're wanting to get out of debt, if you're wanting better communication, if you're wanting to elevate to the higher level of life, get to First Steps to Success and plug into DaniJohnson.com.
Change your habits, change your future. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
So if leading with your opinion is helpful and conducive to other people, then maybe you should lead with it. But if your opinion is not helpful and conducive, maybe you ought to learn the skill set of self-control, right? But Dani, I have a right to my opinion. You're right. But I think that you have a right to your opinion only if and when you've honored the other person to hear theirs. Yeah, to dig deep on theirs, to really get interested on theirs. And it is then where you've created the environment for you to actually even be heard. Come on, there's people all over social media right now sharing their opinions, and they think they're being heard, but they're not being heard. All they're doing is piping off their mouth to make themselves feel better, but in all reality, they don't feel better. So if you really want your opinion to be heard, you got to create the environment for it to be heard. How? Let other people share theirs first. And truly hear it with no judgment, no assumptions. Truly dig in to see it from their point of view. Now that is creating the environment for your opinion to be heard. Cassie from North Dakota. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Hi.
So, what has been the effect of Facebook and all the division and the fighting and clamoring due to an election? What's been the impact on you?
A lot of frustration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really, really, really try hard to keep my mouth shut on Facebook, or I guess my fingers, silent. But it's hard when, I feel like if I feel like something is wrong, I need to, if something's really pushing my button, I need to stand up and speak out about it. And then I'll just say, well, I can't stand fighting. I hate fighting with anybody. Yeah. And I'll just say, forget it.
Yeah.
And nothing ever gets fixed. And then I'm the one that feels more frustrated.
Yep. So why do you feel that you need to say anything on there?
I just think that there are certain things that, based on personal experiences that I've had, there are just certain things that I don't think can stay, that, if you have a really strong belief about something, you shouldn't stay quiet about it. Mm-hmm. If you feel that, something is wrong down to your core, you need to, do something about it. And I also feel like Facebook is one of the only places that I really have to connect with people.
Right.
So
but do you feel like you're really connecting with people, or is it the illusion of connecting with people?
Yeah, probably the illusion.
Right? So when you make a post that's a rant, how many people respond to your political view?
It depends on the post. I try not to rant, I guess. It depends on the subject matter.
Mm-hmm. So is it 5? Is it 20? Is it 1,000?
Oh, between 5 and 10 of my closest friends, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. That share the same opinion?
Yeah.
So are you making a difference?
No, probably not.
I find this fascinating, and here's why. I think that social media needs to be understood for what it is. And that is, like you said, it's the place where I feel like I can be heard. But there's a way to create an environment where you truly are being heard. And that's first by hearing somebody else and asking the question of somebody else. Now, there's a question, Cassie, when you were talking that came up to my spirit. Have you ever been wrong about something that you were really passionate about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? And have you ever been heels in the ground, this is my position on this XYZ matter, and then you come to find out that you were completely wrong and you completely flipped your opinion to the opposite direction?
Yeah, maybe not flipped my opinion immediately, but I realized I was wrong.
Right. And how do you come to the revelation that you were wrong? Would it be that you learned something new about that subject or had a different experience than with the subject?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, right.
Or other people that had experienced something
totally different
or handled it differently.
Yep.
Talked to me about it, and I was like, oh, okay.
I have to tell you, I've had the same exact experience. And as I travel through this game of life, I find that every time I choose to dig my heels in the ground and see things only from my point of view, I'm proven wrong every single time. Every single time. But when I engage with people and I want to learn from their perspective and their experience, I find that there's so much more fulfillment, way more satisfaction, and I learn so much more that then I'm a little bit more equipped about whatever that opinion is, and I'm not usually attached to it. So therefore, if someone doesn't agree with my opinion, it doesn't really bother me because I'm really not attached to it because they have their own opinion and their own perspective. Thanks so much for sharing, Cassie. That was really, really important. Okay, we've got Daniel from Texas. Daniel, you've been watching all of these Facebook wars, families being divided. Have you been blocked? Have you blocked anyone during this last presidential election?
Yeah, I have to say that I did.
Why?
I was just overwhelmed by the negativity. And I just kind of looked at it like, I didn't really want to engage because, people really have their mind made up, and even looking at the columns, sometimes people are saying mean and nasty things back and forth, but even the people that were just trying to be reasonable and just, offer an alternative viewpoint were, treated like they were Nazis or something. And I was like, wow, I don't even want to step into that. So I just, it's really just not worth, probably because I'm an independent. So I don't really have a dog in the fight per se. I want our country to be great, obviously, but not, I didn't have a particular politician that I waved my pom-poms around for or anything. So
that's awesome.
I just looked at it like, whoever wins, Jesus is still Lord. So,
that's right.
But
that's right.
I think in the interim, it was really sad to watch how invested people are in their opinions.
Yeah. And not actually, it's more than them being invested in their opinion. It's bigger than that. It's how much they're not invested in other people's opinions.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's how much, meaning that they care more about pundits' opinions, people they don't know how they live. They care more about the writers of the news feeds and the faces on television. They care more about those people's opinions than they do even honoring their family. Do you know what I mean? So people are blocking family members. So it goes to show the flip-flop of priorities that our world is in right now. That people don't value their family and their coworkers and the people in their own community. They don't value those people's opinions as much as they do value people they will never meet, people they have never met, people they don't know the quality of those lives just because they're in the spotlight. They care more about those person's opinions than they do their family. So that to me is a misappropriation of priorities big time, which again shows you why the quality of our families are a mess, why our finances are a mess, why our businesses are a mess, why our education is a mess, why everything is a mess, is because our priorities are completely wrong. We don't care about our families as much as we care about perfect strangers and what they think about a matter, which is really, really sad. And we care more about our own opinion. We care more about our own opinion than anyone else that is around us. Danielle, thank you so much for sharing. We appreciate you. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Be sure to tell a friend about the Dani Johnson Show. It just might be the key to the breakthrough they need.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success. Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. The most common question I get usually are from people who are trying to juggle their life. They've got kids who are involved in all kinds of activities. They've got business or their job, finances, trying to get out of debt, plus all their church activities and all the volunteer activities, and they're pulling their hair out going, how do I juggle this all? Man, I once lived just like that until I learned Time Secrets. Time Secrets showed me how to be able to cut my hours from 100 hours a week that I was working down to 20 hours a week and tripled my income as a direct result with what I learned. Time Secrets also showed me how to get my priorities in order, which healed up my marriage. And I became a mother that I was proud of versus becoming the mother I didn't want to be. And so if you feel like your world is running around in all kinds of different circles, you can fix that. Call 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880 for Time Secrets.
It's time to take on a whole new mindset. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
I don't know about you, but I felt like I learned a lot in today's program. I felt like I was challenged in today's program. Every single person who called in and shared their perspective about the wars that seem to be happening in social media. There's so much wisdom and nuggets got drawn out of there, even to that very last one with Daniel, with, people caring more about their opinion than they do their family. What a selfish position to have. And that we will block family members if they don't agree with us politically or in policy, which is such a sad thing. The higher is love. The higher is we value our family more than we value our opinion or more than we value a perfect stranger's opinion who wrote an article about a particular politician or a particular policy. We literally have got to get our priorities straight. And it's more important to honor and to love one another than it is to lead with our opinion, bulldozing like a bull in a china cabinet, hoping that someone is going to hear us. The best way to be heard is to first hear someone else with no judgment, with no assumption, but just simply to hear fully engaged in that hearing where that perspective is coming from. And you will find you might not be as strong in your position as you thought you were. I'm not saying you're going to be persuaded to somebody else's, but it certainly will help your argument. It certainly will help your debate. It will certainly help you to actually form some kind of conversation that is engaging, mutually beneficial, instead of just argumentative and proving somebody else wrong and rejecting them if they don't agree with you. That kind of communication raises and elevates your value in the marketplace and at home. But the latter, the one that we've been talking about throughout the show, blocking people if they don't agree with you, this hurts your earning potential. It hurts the harmony in your home. It hurts who you are as a parent. And it causes people to shut themselves down, shut themselves off, and isolate themselves away from you. You cannot possibly get people to follow you if that's how you lead. And you certainly can't make an impact in their life if it's your way or the highway. So I challenge you today that if you have blocked people and you have walked away from a relationship because of a difference in opinion, I challenge you right now to man up, woman up, go make it right. With no excuses. Ask them to forgive you and try to engage in understanding where their perspective is and leave it at that. Don't offer yours unless you are asked. Honor them with the ability to share what they need to share without you having to offer yours when somebody hasn't even asked for it. Because if you give your opinion when it's not asked, it's not heard. It's truly that simple. It truly is that simple. But you can create an environment where it will be asked. That's if you choose to do what it takes to make that happen. I was challenged today. I hope you were too. Please let us know how you enjoyed today's show. At destinyglobal.com, you can click on the show and it'll show you today's program. Leave us a comment right there on the bottom or on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Dani Johnson Live. Again, that's Dani Johnson Live. We'd love to hear from you. God bless, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DaniJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it. This has been the Dani Johnson Show. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insights that will help you get to the life you've always wanted.